Thank you. I cannot believe this. You guys actually did it. You sold this place out. 4,000 people. Just go with it. We're not going to do any crowd shots. No, thank you for coming out. I've been looking forward to this for so long, even though the day started out bad, I actually flew in this morning, and the airline, they lost my bags, which was my fault because I flew, and I went to the baggage claim. I was like, I think you lost my bags. The guy didn't even look up. He goes, we did. And the only reason why I wanted it is because, we're filming and I wanted to, look good and my toothbrush was in my bag, but I was able to get one here. You guys have an amazing Goodwill. No, it's a soft bristle. Someone's a biter. So tonight, I wanted to answer a lot of questions that I get. I get a lot of the same questions. I'm going to start with the one I get all the time. No, I have never done any modeling. Could have, but didn't. No, I'm kidding. I know what I look like. There's mirrors backstage. No, seriously, and I'm fine with it. I look like somebody cloned Conan O'Brien and Carrot Top before the steroids. And I'm fine with that. This is the way God made me, and it's good for laughter. I've been doing comedy for 20 years, and so it's good for. And actually, I always like to meet people that don't have a sense of humor. I met a guy a couple of weeks ago who had no sense of humor. I was standing behind him at an ATM, and I thought this was hilarious. But as soon as he put in his password, I just went, "Got it!" and I took off running. He did not look like a sprinter. And he caught me, and I quickly tried to explain the joke, but evidently you can't have a sense of humor if you're an undercover cop. And by the way, I say that, but I love law enforcement. I really respect those guys. They are amazing, and I'm not just saying that because I parked in handicap. But no, and another question I get that I always like to address is a lot of people want to know, like, where did you get your sense of humor? How did you get funny? I was very blessed to grow up in a very, not only Christian home, but a very funny home. My dad is one of the funniest guys I've ever. We have the same personality, which is weird because we don't look alike at all. My dad weighs 230 pounds. He's 5'7". Yeah. And he's always been big. I asked my grandmother, I was like, was he ever skinny like me when he was young? And she was like, no. He was born on a Thursday and a Friday. So, and I'm not making fun of him because he loves being big. He loves it. He's always like, Bob, come stand next to me so we look like the number 10. I'm like, okay. But he's so quick-witted, and I grew up around that, and it was actually, this is a good example. I spent Thanksgiving with him, and I was helping my mom unload stuff out of the attic, and she had found her old ballet box, and she was going through it. She was like, oh, I used to love to wear this tutu, and my dad was like, nowadays it'd have to be a 4-4. And don't go, oh, she's quick too. She used a 4x4. So, but he's very, very funny. Actually, that's a good example. Since I didn't look like him growing up, especially, I went to him my second junior year in high school, and don't judge me. You guys are supposed to be Christians, okay? Like, you're supposed to judge me silently in your mind. So, I went to my dad and I was like, I don't look like you at all. Was I adopted? And he goes, yes. But they brought you back. So, the only difference is, like, he likes to pull pranks. He used to love to pull pranks because he figured out early on that my brain is a little different than most humans. And so he would mess with me, and I would buy it because he actually convinced me if the ice cream van was playing music, it meant it was out of ice cream. You never knew what he was up to. I got all excited because he built me a tree house, and I was all like really excited until he moved my bed and dresser out there. And he wasn't mean. I don't want you to think he was mean, because my dad, I still love I hang out with him and stuff. We would do stuff as a kid. I think I can talk about this because, here's the deal. California, I live in Texas, and, you guys, California and Texas have some of the same similarities, some not. Like in Texas, when you go to a store and you buy their product, you get this is going to be crazy to you guys, but you get a thing called a free bag. Are you kidding me, California? I went to the store today and I bought some stuff, and I reached back and grabbed a bag, and the lady was there. She was like, "Can I have a dime?" And I was like, "Are you homeless? What is going on?" But here's why I'm kind of pausing during the stories, because when I do comedy, I never want to offend anybody. Like, I want everybody to have a good time, and not everybody agrees on what is offensive and what is not. So there's certain topics I try to stay away from, like discipline. Like, I'll never talk about discipline. Like, how do you discipline your kids here? You don't? Okay, wow. That explains how California ended up like this. Okay, so I'm just saying, we don't. Some people are for timeout, some people are for spankins, but that's a hot topic among, and I'll be honest, I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm raising 3 boys, and I spank my kids when they're bad. Yeah, well, okay, all right. I'm glad other people applauded, because I just heard you, and I thought you were spanking somebody. So it is, and I do it in love, too. Plus, I got the James Dobson Strong-Willed Child book, and that helped me so much, because it was thick enough that when I spanked them, I told that joke in a church one night in Michigan, and this lady came up after the show, and she was like, "You're advocating child abuse. You should never spank your children." And I was like, "You're a Christian. Haven't you read Proverbs where they talk about it?" And she was like, "That was different. That was the Old Testament. They didn't have timeout back then." And I was like, "What?" It's like, yeah, they did. What was the lion's den, huh? Like, because spankings worked on me. I grew up in a loving Christian home, but when I was bad, one time, one of the worst spankings I ever got was I was down front at church, and my dad was leading singing, and my dad said, "On this next song, let's stand to our feet." And I don't know why I did this, but I was like, "Yeah, everybody stand to your feet." Good thing he said that. I almost stood to my liver. We never sang that song. He shut the book, he walked right down, he picked me up, he carried me like a football outside, and I deserved it. These people are going, "Oh, I deserve the spanking," but you are right, it was embarrassing because it was right in front of my children, and so you're never supposed to, I don't know why I started talking about spanking. Oh, because my dad and I would do something, but it's not always favored. Can I talk about hunting? Is that okay here? Like, okay, whoa. Okay, you have a knife, don't you? Because some people are against hunting. Well, if you really are for hunting, I'm not bragging, but I just wanted I got a 10-point buck this year, and yeah, and it did not mess up my truck like I thought it was going to. But my dad and I would go duck hunting. And I'm sorry if that offends you, but that is a beautiful father-son moment where the sun's coming up in the morning and it's peaceful. And my dad and I'd be hiding under the slide by the swing set. And I'd be tearing off the bread. And they'd come waddling over. Quack, quack. Boom, right? I'm kidding. They didn't waddle like that. We would, and we had to hunt. I mean, we had to hunt because and I'm not complaining because God always provided, but we grew up very poor, like really poor, like, had to eat cereal with a fork to save on milk. I actually asked my dad my junior year for a cordless razor, and he gave me some sandpaper. And we grew up out in the country. Actually, the town I grew up in had 281 people in it. That was it. I had 17 in my graduating class. Oh, and I get this question all the time. Let me answer that. No, we didn't all go cow tipping. People are always like, oh, I bet everybody went cow tipping. I'm like, no, somebody had to be a lookout. And I liked growing up there. I actually went back last year because I wanted to do a show for the little school there. And I also wanted to visit all my friends, and they're all still there. That's not a joke. I actually was excited to see everybody, and I had to call them because they don't have email yet. And I was like, hey, where do you guys want to meet? And I was really excited, and there was only one place to meet. They were like, the store. And we have one store. It was like Charles One Stop All Night Videotape Rental Gas Grocery Souvenir Bait and Tackle Shop. It may be a chain. I don't know. But everybody was hanging out at the store, just like high school times. And I pulled up in my rental car, and they treated me like I was an outsider. I couldn't believe it. I got out of the car, and they were all like, oh, look coming here, Mr. Big City Man, Mr. Comedy, Mr. I've flown on an airplane. And I was like, what? I embraced it. I was like, that's right, boys. Say hello to Mr. I use a toothbrush. Like what? It's so weird because my kids are not growing up like that. My kids, I got 3 boys, like I said. My kids, I live in a town called the Woodlands, north of Houston, Texas. Which is, I'm just saying this up front, it's too rich. It's too rich. It's like the town, they have the red light cameras, you know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, and they hire real photographers to stand there. I ran a red light once, got a nice 8x10 glossy, and I don't fit in. I live there because it's close to the airport. I do not fit in at all. Actually, this is a good example. One of my neighbors stopped me about a month ago while I was running away from her, and no, we don't get along. And I'm a people person, but when I met her, she moved in about like 3 months ago, and I went over to meet her, and granted, I mean, okay, I don't normally dress this nice, okay? I borrowed clothes for the DVD, but I went over and I knocked on the door, and this is a total true story. She opened the door, this is the first thing she said. She goes, I've already got a yard man. And I know, and I was like, no, I'm your neighbor. And she goes, oh. And so I introduced myself, and I finally got her to laugh. And then, this is where it went bad. She goes, I want to introduce you to somebody. And I was like, oh, cool. And she goes, it's my cat. And I was like, oh. And the room's getting icy, okay? I don't have any cat jokes. I know, like seriously, with 4,500 people here tonight, there's gonna be some cat lovers, okay? I'm not making fun of cat lovers, okay? So don't go home to your hairball-infested house and type out a hate mail to me on your computer that's probably stacked on 9 kitty box litters, okay? I'm fine if you're a cat lover, I get it. Not everyone can have self-esteem. So, there's one. I think she actually went. It's pretty cool to be outdoors, isn't it? I'm going to stand over here for a little bit. Here's where it went bad, okay? And I think you will back me on this, okay? It's fine if you have a cat. If your cat is grossly overweight, you have to warn me before you shove that visual in my eye hole, okay? I had never seen a cat this big in my life. I walked in the living room and she goes, there she is. And I was like, oh, is she behind the fuzzy chair? And she goes, don't make jokes, that's my fluff. And I was like, well, she's in full fluff. She goes, she's big bone. I was like, she ate a big bone, it looks like. And then she did what most cat lovers do. She like, you apologize to Miss Kitty Clarkson. And I was like, what? She named her cat Kitty Clarkson. I'm like, seriously? You got a cat with a badonkadonk like that? And you didn't think of Kitty Kardashian? So for some reason, we don't get along. But no, this is how rich the town is. Like, she stopped me and she was like, Bob, sorry, I know you're busy, but I just found out that one of your boys, or maybe both of your boys, I don't know, but one of your kids has the same birthday as my twin boys, Neiman and Marcus. And I want to talk about birthday themes and party favors. We're taking all the kids down for a Mickey theme, and we're taking them to Disney on Ice, and we're going to have Mickey bobbleheads as party favors. Okay, two things. One, I'm so redneck that when they said Mickey, I thought, oh no, we're going to Mickey D's. And the second thing is party favors. Do you guys do party favors for kids and stuff? People are not, when did party favors become so, like they're more expensive than the gifts that the kids actually give to my kid? Parents, isn't that why you throw a party, so your kids get a bunch of gifts to offset the socks that you bought them? Isn't that why? It is ridiculous. And I mean, because growing up, again, nobody in my small little town had party favors. I mean, I guess at my party, we did have party. Every kid that came to my party got a free Frisbee because we had 60 head of cattle. And I'm sorry, we had 60 Frisbee makers, okay? Is that better? It is so weird, but yeah, anyway, so and so I didn't know what to say to her. She was like, you don't have the same thing, you're not doing the same thing. I was like, I don't know, I'll have to check with my twin boys, Wally and Mart. But I live there because it is close to the airport, and I fly all the time, and I'm so glad God has really blessed me that comedy has worked out, because I was never good at what's it called? Jobs. No, it's not that I'm not good at jobs. I couldn't get a job because, and adults back me up, when you go for a job interview, they ask some dumb questions, right? And God made my brain where if I think of a funny thing and I think of a wise thing, you're gonna get the funny thing. I wasn't even prepared. I walked in the first job interview. They go, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I go, still obeying the voices in my head. I'm sorry. They made me say that. You know, right? There's just too many funny answers, right? Like, why did you leave your last job? Restraining order, you know. I went on so many. I finally did get a job because of a dumb question. The guy was sitting there behind the desk, full suit. He was all like, describe yourself in one word. And I go, hired. So I did. Before I did comedy, I worked at Sam's Wholesale Club. I don't know if you guys have them, but yeah, that was the best week. No, I got fired, and it was not my fault. My boss came over. I was testing out a mattress, and he woke me up and fired me. And one job interview, I actually interviewed for the post office, and all my friends are always like, what? You wanted to work for the post office? I was like, yeah, sometimes I enjoy moving slowly. And but they asked me that question. They go, why did you leave your last job? And I go, they found the bodies. So they hired me. And so I'm so glad comedy worked out and although sometimes, like, I'm glad God gave me this brain. I mean, we should be grateful for what God gives us, right? Because He's given us the things that He wants for us to use to accomplish in life. And but man, sometimes it gets me in trouble. I actually almost got punched in the face in October, or what I now call Socktober. It was bad. I'll tell you the story. I was flying to Detroit, and I don't know if you guys have been there. It's one of my favorite cities. I was actually there a couple weeks ago, and it was so much fun. They took me around and showed me how to draw a chalk outline of a body, and so This particular morning when I had to fly out, I had to get up at 2 in the morning, 2 a.m., and I'm not a morning person. Anybody here a morning person? Anybody here? Yeah, a couple of you guys. Early birds, get that worm. We all hate you. I don't mean that mean, okay? I'm not saying you're not gonna get into heaven, okay? I'm just saying when you get there, how about wait until 9 a.m. before you start flapping your wings in our face and... Good night. Let me get my Halo and Starbucks, and there will be a Starbucks there. They're everywhere else. So I'm just saying, like this one particular morning, my alarm went off. It's 2 in the morning. Even my alarm was annoyed. Normally it's like, no. And this time it was like, no. I was like, when did the neighbor's cat come over? And I crawled out of bed. This is how tired I was. My leg was asleep. Which, by the way, I think God, I don't have any like scriptures to back this up, but I think God did 2 things to our body just for his amusement. One, I think he gave us brain freezes, okay? Because, I mean, honestly, why else would that happen? I think it's just because he's watching, like, hey, watch, he's eating ice cream. Like, oh, this is awesome. This is, ah! I think God's just there going, I did that. Now watch, he's American, he'll keep eating. And the other one is he made our bodies, some parts of our bodies just fall asleep. Because why else would that happen except for it's a moron equalizer. You could be Brad Pitt and your leg's asleep and you're still like, hold on guys, all right? So when I woke up this morning, my right leg was totally asleep. But I didn't even realize it. That's how out of it I was. So I fell on the floor, which was awkward because my dog came over and started licking me in the face. Then my legs started to wake up. So it felt like 1,000 ants crawling over. So I start shaking it. My dog starts licking faster thinking I'm enjoying myself. So I go to the bathroom, I'm like, I hope there's other people that have done this. Has anybody been so tired you've been brushing your teeth and you miss your mouth? Okay, some of you good. I was like, I guess I'm shaving. So I go and I pack my bags, and yeah, I should have packed them early. I'm a procrastinator. It's so terrible. Anybody else here a procrastinator? Anybody else? I kind of feel like if you really were, you wouldn't have raised your hand that quickly. So I pack my bags, I go to the airport, I'm flying out of Houston, and this doesn't have anything to do with the story, but I saw my best friend, which is a guy named Tim Hawkins. I don't know if you guys know him. Yeah. If you don't know Tim Hawkins, look him up. I promise you, he is the second best Christian comedian out there. But I saw him, and he was getting off a plane. And so he had taken a red eye. He was tired. He had his head down. He was wearing yoga pants. And I did what you do when you see your best friend. I was like, I'm going to scare him. So in the Houston airport at 4 in the morning, I got right behind him, and then I jumped in front of him. But right before I jumped in front of him, I remembered one of his bits. He has a bit. He wishes Snickers were bigger. He wishes they made a Snickaloaf. And yeah. And that's about the response he gets when he tells it. I really hope he doesn't watch this DVD. But I jumped in front of him in the middle of the airport at 4 in the morning, and this is what I shouted at his face. I went, "Want to buy a Snickaloaf?" And that is when I realized it wasn't him. I jumped in front of a complete stranger in the airport. And what did I shout at him? "Want to buy a Snickaloaf?" And what I should have said right after that was, "I'm sorry, I thought you were somebody else." But no, what my crazy brain kicked out was, "Want to buy a Snickaloaf?" Well, I already ate it, and then I just walked off. I felt so bad for that guy, because you know he went home and tried to tell the story, and nobody's gonna believe him. No, I got off this plane and this gigantic Girl Scout jumped in front of me. I almost wet my yoga pants. Anyway, so back to my story. So I get on the plane, and I was flying to Detroit, but I had a layover in Alabama, which is one of my favorite states. Although it's too close to Texas, because every time I land, I always forget to set my watch back 10 years. And have you been there? They're like, roll tide. I'm like, you're rolling back. But anyway, I get on the plane to fly to Alabama, and I was going to sleep, but they were showing the movie The Hobbit. So yeah, but I didn't get to see the whole movie because it was only a 2-hour flight, so I barely made it through the opening credits. And are we still okay? Okay. Sometimes I'll do a Hobbit joke, and there's some diehard Hobbit fans, and they get violently angry, right? Seriously, like, and I love Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. I'm more of a Star Wars guy, but yeah, we got Star Wars people. Han Solo, Bato, I love all those people. I love the new movies. My only thing is I wish Walmart would have come out with some merchandise to help promote it. Anybody else just gets super, I'm a Star Wars fan. And at first I was like, oh cool, Yoda yogurt, that's pretty cool, right? Then I saw Jar Jar juice boxes and I was like, and Chewy chewing tobacco? What is going on? I mean, yes, I own a Stormtrooper pooper scooper, but I saw a Darth Vader paternity test. I was like, come on. Sorry, spoiler alert. So I land in Birmingham, Alabama, because I have a layover, and I had to change terminals because they were doing construction. That's actually another question I get a lot, is what's the worst part of your job? Man, I'm so blessed. I love my job. The worst part of my job is my last name really is Smiley. That's a great last name for a comedian. It is the worst last name if you have to show your ID to a TSA person, because they all make the same joke. Happened this morning. They all look at it and they go, oh, Smiley, how come you're not smiling? You got a last name Smiley, you ought to smile all the time. We're gonna call you Mr. Frowny, Mr. Smiley. Let's see that smile. And all I can think of is, man, I'm so close to your gun. But I have to smile because one time I didn't. One time I was overtired and I just let my brain just go and I responded. I was on a tour called Festival con Dios, which is a big traveling festival with 11 Christian bands and Christian road crew, and like everything was Christian. Like even our bathrooms, we had 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. And I was so tired, and they dropped me off at the airport, and I just wanted to get on the plane. And the guy wouldn't drop it. He kept going, Smiley, you're not smiling. How come you're not smiling? If I had a last name Smiley, I'd smile all the time. You're not even smiling in the picture. Didn't they tell you your last name was Smiley whenever they took a picture? You think you would smile. Why aren't you smiling? And I just snapped, and I was like, you want to know why I'm not smiling? I'll tell you. Think about it. It's 4 a.m., and ever since 9/11, I got to be at the airport 2 hours early in order to get groped before enjoying all my freedom. Also, take my shoes off thanks to the shoe bomber. Don't get me wrong, glad he picked shoes and not a shirt because I don't have the abs to pull that off. Also, I realize I'm standing in front of the world's largest redneck who has a belt buckle big enough to serve tea on, but he can't figure out what's setting off the metal detectors. But none of that matters because we both know I'm not gonna fly today because you're looking at my ticket, you see it says American Airlines, so we both know I'm gonna get delayed, I'm gonna get canceled, I'm gonna get rebooked back here tomorrow where I get to try it all over again. But if it makes you feel any better, I'm really glad you guys appreciated that because all I remember after that moment was, wow. His hands are cold. So here's where I almost got punched. I promise I'm getting to the end of the story. So I'm standing, I'd already shown my ID, and I'm standing there, and I'm by myself. It was a lot like prom. And I'm standing there, and I like to listen to people talk. And so I hear 2 guys behind me, and one of them goes, hey, When's Thanksgiving? And I hear the other one pull out his phone and go, November 24th. Huh, on a Thursday. Okay, if you're not laughing, it's always on a Thursday. So, by the way, if you're not laughing, don't feel bad. I won't even say the town. I was in a town about a couple of weeks ago, and a lady hollered out, "How come it's funny that it's on a Thursday?" And and as a joke, I go, "How long were you in public school?" And as a true joke, and she goes, 4 years, but I hated teaching. And so, okay, back to my story, because we're gonna cut that. I want teachers to buy this DVD. So the guy was like, Thanksgiving's on a Thursday, and before I could even process it, the other one goes, "It was on a Thursday last year." You know what? I bet it's a leap year. And I did what you guys did. I laughed loudly. And then I turned around. Always turn around first before you laugh. I had never seen guys this big in my life. They were human room dividers, okay? Seriously, one of them had a vein in his bicep bigger than my leg, all right? They could palm a basketball with me holding on to it. And here's the deal. I love when medication kicks in. That is so great. So that's how you discipline your kids. Okay, all right. So I'm standing in front of these two huge guys, and they're mad. And I promise you I'm not lying, okay? I am not as strong as I look. That's a little too much of a laugh, okay? No, I get it. I weigh 156 pounds. I look like I went to a blood bank and forgot to say when. I'm the only guy in this church that can use chapstick as deodorant. And again, I don't care. This is the way God made me, so I'm fine with it. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to be able to get a jar open even if my kids aren't home. I am so weak. Okay, I didn't plan this part, but this is actually true. This is how weak I am. I was walking through a park like a couple of months ago, and I walked through a gigantic spider web and got caught. I am a grown adult, and I just kept pulling it around me and trying to, even the spider was like, I guess I'll eat him, you know, right? So I'm standing there, and the biggest one goes, "Are you laughing at us?" Right? And here's my dilemma. I am a Christian, and we tell the truth. But sometimes the truth will not set you free. And so I apologize to especially kids that are watching. Don't ever lie, it's never good. But I did. I was panicked because he was like, "You laughing at us?" And I was like, "No, I didn't even know you guys were behind me. I just turned around because I saw these two big shadows moving. I didn't know what it was. It was you guys." But I was thinking of a joke that my kid told me before I left. And so I was just laughing at that. Before I could turn around, the other one goes, "Let's hear it." So now everybody in line is listening to me. Guys, I don't even know where this joke came from. It was definitely the wrong joke to tell these two knuckle draggers because they were like, let's hear it. I go, okay. What did one glowworm say to the other glowworm? You glow, girl. Like, what? It was the dumbest joke. It was the worst joke to tell. And the biggest one was doing this. He was going to punch. I was going to get punched in the face for telling a glowworm joke. But thankfully, the other one threw me a lifeline because he goes, is there something wrong with you? And I've been asked that a lot. But never has it been a good thing. And because I thought, ooh, if they think something's wrong with me, if they think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, then maybe they'll leave me alone, right? And because I just watched The Hobbit, I went all Gollum on them. I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. No, tell them about your problem. No, I'm fine. You gotta tell them. No, you gotta. I'm sorry. I get really stressed out during leap years. And so I do. I love traveling around. And my favorite traveling story, and I put this on Tim Hawkins' DVD. I did a DVD with him, but I know not all 6,000 people here have heard it. My favorite traveling story was I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was sweating because I was in Phoenix. And yeah, they're always like, it's a dry heat. And I'm like, so is a flamethrower. I don't want that on me. So I was getting ready to fly back home, and it was when the iPhone had just come out. And you guys remember when the iPhone came out? Like it was amazing. It was crazy, and I didn't know how to work it, but thankfully my oldest son was 6, so he did. And so he made a ringtone for me. And my ringtone for the longest time was my son going, hello, Dad, pick up your phone. And it was so cute. And because it was the first time I had it, I was just sitting there listening to it. And then it was my time to go through the metal detectors. So I put my phone in the bag, and the TSA guy saw me mess with it. So he opens up the bag. He didn't even see the phone. He pulls out, I had a tube of toothpaste. And he goes, what is this? And I go, that's toothpaste. What are you, from Arkansas? And he got really mad because he was from Little Rock. And he yelled at me. He was like, you can't fly with toothpaste. And I was like, dude, calm down. I didn't think it through, but now that you bring it to my attention, I agree. I don't want some, Tartar terrorist jumping up in the middle of the flight and brushing everybody's teeth. Has that ever happened on a flight? Like, why would they? You gargle, go Allah. Anyway. I just thought of that. Okay, so. But he said you can't. I was like, dude, take it. And so he took the toothpaste. And it's my favorite story. He grabs the bag. He's still staring at me. He sets the bag on the conveyor belt to go into the x-ray machine. And right as the bag gets into the x-ray machine, someone called me. And so all of a sudden you hear in the bag, hello, Dad. He was like, is there a kid in there? I was like, calm down. He doesn't have toothpaste. So, I love my kids, man. That's my favorite job, is being a dad. I have a 12-year-old, 14-year-old. My oldest son is 17. So if any of you, any 7,000 of you here tonight, if any of you need the correct answer to any question, he knows everything. I am so lucky to get the one, you know? And not only does he think he knows everything, he wants to be the one talking the entire time. Everybody else hush and listen to me. Hang on every word I say. I'm like, where do you get that? No, I actually get it. This isn't part of my act either, but I was talking to my mom about 2 days ago, and I was like, my son's, his name is Coulter, but we call him Google, and I was talking to my mom, I was like, not only does Google think he knows everything, he's always telling me that I'm wrong. And she was like, you were the exact way when you were in high school. And I was like, what? Wrong again. So I do have 3 boys, and that's another question I get is, are your kids funny? All 3 of my kids are really pretty funny, but my youngest one, Xander, is the funniest kid I've ever met in my entire life. I'll tell you, I took him in the summer to a pastor's conference. So it was like 300 pastors in a room, preachers. And we were backstage, and Xander looked, and he was like, is that a room full of pastors? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, how long's your show? And I go, I'm doing an hour. And he goes, good. Go twice as long so they'll see how it feels. And if you're a pastor here tonight, I'm not bagging on you, okay? Because, I mean, that's a hard job. I've actually started preaching this last year. The last time I actually preached was about a month ago in Las Vegas, which was weird because the audience, instead of yelling, amen, they go, bingo. But yeah, my youngest is the funniest thing he ever said was he came downstairs one day, and we work with New Missions, this child sponsorship program. So we've been to third world countries. We've seen, starving children. And he came downstairs, and he was like, I'm starving. And I was like, I saw a teaching moment. And I was like, Xander, man, come on. We've seen starving. You're not starving. You're hungry. And he goes, fine. I'm so hungry, I'm farting fresh air. And I was like, what? I know, how do you argue with that? That's pretty hungry, right? Oh no, woo, oh. But I do, that's my favorite job, even from doing any other job. Like, and kids, man, I'm not gonna try to preach at you, but man, love on your parents. That is a hard job. That is such a hard job, man. There's, I don't know, there's sad moments. I don't know, I shouldn't talk about it. Anyway, okay, let's just do it. Because I may be the only one, but anybody get really sad whenever you realize that your son's too big to toss up in the air? Anybody go through that? Okay, I knew that was dumb, sorry. That happened last week, that's why I was bringing it up. I know that's so awkward, but it was weird, because I had to tell my dad, quit throwing me up! I'm a big boy. And but it is, and it's not all sad. It's just sometimes it's difficult, but there's a lot of joy. There's so much joy in being a father or a mother. And you know what my favorite moment is so far as a dad? I used to think about it before I was a dad. I was like, is it going to be their birth? Is it going to be teaching them to ride a bike, a graduation? Which is not going to happen in my case. But no, like, my favorite, and parents back me up, my favorite moment so far as a dad was the day that none of them had to ride in a car seat. Anybody else? Absolutely. You guys with me on that? Is the car seat not the most frustrating? Because you don't know which way does it turn? How do we do it? Do we have to buckle it in? Now we got to strap it. Where does the duct tape go? Right? It's so, who made the car seat? I looked it up. It shocked me. It was Satan. I thought that was a brand name, Satan. No, it was. I think if car seats were popular when Job was around, I don't think that Satan would have killed anybody. He would have just given Job 200 kids and 200 car seats, just like, nah. It is so frustrating, right? And in Texas, it's based on the kid's weight. That's a bad idea. Because by my third child, I was fattening him up like a hog going off to the state fair. I was like, Xander, we're taking a trip to California. You need to hit those Twinkies, buddy, okay? No more fresh air for you. So, That's not very mature. That's actually another hard part about being a parent, is you have to be mature all the time. And it's difficult, right? Like even flying in today, I just got over losing my voice. It was gone. And so I got on this morning and my voice was like, doing all that. And the flight attendant saw that and he was bringing me some tea. But he also had an eye patch. I am an adult. I should be able to look past it. No. It was all I could do not to shout out, "Army matey, bring me a goblet of something tasty." I had to fight that. So yeah, kids, man, know that it's a tough job. I used to talk about this. I talked about this years ago, how my kids would sneak up on me. My kids would sneak up on me all the time, where I'd think I was by myself, and I'd just be like, "Ah! How did you?" Thought I was in this stall by myself, right? My kids will still do it. My 14-year-old just thinks it's funny now. Like 2 a.m., I'll just open my eyes. My son Trent just standing there. Right? No, he doesn't do that. He just stands there for like 10 minutes, just holding the kitchen knife. And you guys know that's a joke. I'm from Texas. It's a gun. I knew this was the place to film, man. You guys are so much fun. So yeah, so life can be fun, man. It's yeah, okay. Here's where I always struggle with it, because when I do stand-up, I try to be really transparent, which is easy. I'm a redhead, so I'm practically transparent. I am. I have the complexion of Elmer's glue. It is not good. But I want to be transparent, like when you talk about your life and stuff. And I'll be honest with you, man, life can be tough sometimes, And that's why it's so important to rely on God. My life is no different. I mean, I go through, here's what I'm getting at. About a year and a half ago, I came home and my wife of 18 years just said that she was done and that she just wanted something different, and she just moved out and left. And I know it's kind of shocking to bring up in a comedy show. It shocked me though, because there was no warning. There was one warning. A week before she left, I noticed I was riding in the passenger seat of her car and she turned my airbag off. We've always been frugal, so I didn't put it together, but she did. She left, and I know it's awkward, and I see all you women thinking the same thing, like, what? Who would throw this away? And I don't bring it up to be awkward. I bring it up because of this. For 18 years, I traveled all over the country, and I made people laugh, and then I told them that God could get them through anything. But I was standing on a mountaintop the whole time. Man, my life was so good for so long. We didn't have any problems. It was just amazing. This last year and a half, my boys and I, we've been wandering through the desert. And it's so refreshing to stand before you tonight and tell you that God can and will get you through anything. Nothing is going to shock him, and he's going to be right there to walk you through anything that Satan throws at you. And it's amazing. It's absolutely love. And I want to be very clear on this part, because God doesn't immediately just come down and fix everything. Here's a lotto ticket. Here's, he doesn't just do that. I'm just being honest. I'm being real. For 2 months, I was super depressed. I was like, I could have had my own AMC TV show, Breaking Bob. It was terrible. I shaved my head. I grew a mustache, wore a black derby hat. My friends called me Heisenbob. Boy, there are a lot of non-Christians here tonight. You should not get that show at all. My friend Jesse was no help. You need to repent. You need to cancel your Netflix right now, and then... No, but that's the thing. And then God started showing up, because if you stay faithful in his time, he will totally take care of you, you know? And I've always heard laughter is the best medicine, and I worried about that. I'm in the business of giving laughs, and I didn't have any of my own. And then all of a sudden, you know, I heard laughter was the best medicine, and after this year and a half, I truly can tell you it's Vicodin. No, laughter was so, I remember the first time I laughed, and I'm not making light of divorce at all. It is terrible, and Satan loves it. He loves tearing families apart and making people think that maybe there's something better, and it's just, but the first time I laughed, it was healing. I was in the shower, and I was like, oh, I don't have to read 18 bottles to make sure I use shampoo and not shea butter foot scrub, you know? Like, you can laugh if you want, but I've washed my head with shea butter foot scrub so much. I'm surprised I don't have a toe growing out of my head. But I was standing there, I was like, there's one bottle, Holiday Inn, you know, right? And I felt a little healing, and that's what God does. And even when my kids and I, the first time that we laughed, my youngest Xander, the funny one, came downstairs, and he was grinning, so I knew something was up. And we'd already discussed that one of the like, here's the deal. We can now touch any towel in our house. We don't have non-touchable decorative towels. And he came downstairs and he looked at me and he goes, is the divorce over? And I go, yeah, why? And he goes, oh, there's still some furniture left upstairs. And he was joking, because there's not. So please buy this DVD when it comes out, okay? That would be awesome. That would really help us if, 8,000 copies sold like that. So, but he looked at me and he goes, if it's really over, I'm gonna touch the towel. And I was like, you should do it. And he goes, no, you do it. No, I'm gonna do it. And he walked in and he knew he was being funny, but he just walked into this decorative towel that we was never allowed to touch. And all of a sudden he just put his hand up and he just goes, freedom! Oh, the next hour, we were chasing each other around the house. We were popping each other with towels. My oldest was standing on the couch going, woo, right? And we laughed together. And that's what God does. Sorry, God doesn't do this. Yeah, he might. He really might. How cool would that be? To get to heaven, like, hey, welcome to heaven. Grab a towel, pick a couch, make it shine. Here's what God does. God will shine the brightest light in the darkest situations. That's what he does. And it's amazing. You just got to keep your eyes focused on him. And that's what he did. I mean, he revealed so many great things. My friends, when I started going through this, my true friends, I found out, give horrible advice. I love my friends, but good night. They were just, one guy was like, you just need to go out and date a bunch of hot women, man. You just go out and date a bunch of hot women. And I was like, yeah. Where do they keep those? Some of my friends didn't even know what to do, so they mailed me books to read. I'm like, man, thank you so much. Now I'm depressed and have homework. That is awesome. So anyway, yeah, that's my story. I don't know if that's too personal, but I think we've got to talk about it, because our life, nobody's life is perfect, man. But our God is perfect. And so if we rest on him, man, we can get through anything, you know? Anyway, that's my story. Yeah, you can apply that if you want to, man. God is amazing. And so I just want to encourage people that if you're going through a hard time, and know God's right there with you, you know, and he will give you what you need, you know. And anyway, so that's where I'm at. I'm a single dad raising 3 kids, self-employed in the ministry. Ladies. No. No, the whole dating thing. I wasn't even thinking about it. And then my kids came to me and they were like, you should date. And I was like, I don't know. Because I still get nervous like going into Starbucks and ordering. No, I feel so weird when I go in and order a tall blonde. I dated a couple, I don't know. It's just, there's too many games. I don't want to like make anybody mad, but just, ladies, please say what you mean, okay? Don't go, I don't care where we eat, and then 30 minutes later, I don't like this Chuck E. Cheese. Like, just be honest, be real, okay? That's something else I found, that all the women, because I'm in my 40s, and all women are just like, I just want somebody real. Are there any real men left? I want someone real. And I'm like, look, not everything about you is real, and you seem pretty proud of that. So, what? There's a lot of women out there with fake personalities. That's what I'm saying. But I get it. I do it too. I got so nervous the first couple of dates. Again, you should never lie. I lied about my job. I faked an accent. I acted like I could pay for the meal. So it is. So, I mean, it is just like, you know, one of my friends actually signed me up on a dating site. Yeah, plentyoffish.com. Yeah. Are you on it? You're on it, aren't you? What's your username? If you really are on it, back me up. There are plenty of fish, and they're all bottom feeders. I'm gonna get some hate mail, but hopefully some of you will back me up, okay? As a Christian man who's trying to guard his eyes and his heart, women, if you dress for the job you want, can you dress for the kind of guy that you say you want, okay? You know what I'm talking about? Like some of these women on these profiles, videos, and just like, stop, please. They all say they're Christian, and then their videos are just like, I just want a good Christian man who will take me to church and treat me like the princess God made me to be. I'm like, what? Okay, a couple of things. I love how married people are laughing, going, that's so absurd. And I see a lot of single guys going, yep, that's exactly right. And if you're a single girl, you're not even listening. You're busy deleting your profile. And the other thing is I was watching the bit in the monitor over there, and that bit would have been so much better if I actually had a rear end. And, I just realized I don't. Yeah, that's it, yeah. I've got legs that go into my back. That is what I got. But so the dating thing is just it's not important. My job is to spread the gospel and to raise my kids. And, you know, and it's so weird too, because I keep saying things that my dad said to me that I thought I would never say to my kids. You know, anybody else do that? Like, quit crying or I'll give you something to cry about, or don't make me come up there, you know, hide in this box till company leaves, or... No? That may be a Texas thing. Or I talked about this on my last DVD, all these like weird things that parents have to say, because you find yourself saying the dumbest things. My favorite one that was on there was, because it's true, I had to say this to my oldest son when he was little. I was like, nope, chicken pot pie does not have pot in it. I'm glad you guys laughed, because I was in Colorado last week and a guy down front goes, ours does. So, or anybody, I try to figure out if I'm as mature as other like parents, but do you ever find yourself saying something that's kind of hypocritical, but you're not supposed to laugh because you're the adult, you're in charge? Like, do you know what I'm talking about? I'll give you an example. One day I said to my oldest son, Google, I was like, sorry, Coulter. I said to my oldest son, I was like, Coulter, you get up off this couch right now and you quit being lazy and you bring me the remote control to the TV. Which was the dumbest sentence in the world. But I wanted the remote control because it is now my favorite device because, and you guys can't tell, but I've got a little bit of ADD, and no, it's bad. And so I used not to like to watch TV, and then one day I realized that if you have the right shows lined up on the TV, and you flip the channel after every sentence, you can create your own story. Have you done it? You know what I'm talking about. It is the greatest. And it's awesome when you have the right shows, right? I once had Dance with the Stars, news, awards ceremony, televangelists, and wrestling all lined up. It was it was like, the head of the Taliban announced today that she will be wearing a gold sequin gown made by Calvin Klein. And therefore, we need to remember the example of the Apostle Paul when he performed a suplex kick up against the Undertaker's head. And now he's going to attempt a pile driver. So if a peace treaty cannot be reached soon, pretty soon we're going to see Kid Rock and Lady Gaga perform a surprise duet in the end. And in the end, brothers and sisters, if you don't give your life to Jesus Christ, you're going to find yourself in a cage match, no holds barred, face to face with true evil. It is the greatest. It is the greatest. And I'm not a technology type guy. I think it's harder to raise kids with technology. And let's be honest, in America, we slap technology on everything. Like absolutely, actually, it's a good example. I was in, this is actually a town in California. I was in Weed, California. Yeah, W-E-E-D, they don't even hide it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I did a show there, and they love to laugh. It's a weird place. It's way up in the mountains. I'd say about a mile high. And no, it was not good because I had my road manager, and we had to walk up. He's overweight. He weighs 420. And why are you laughing? He got hurt. He actually tripped at the top, and he tumbled over. Oh, talk about rolling a fatty. Are you laughing? He got hurt. He did. He rolled all the way down. He hit a stop sign at the bottom. It went bong. And there are a lot of Christians with a past here tonight. Okay, back to the real story. I was in Weed, California. I was in the green room. And stop it. I was leafing through a magazine, and come on, stop. The pastor brought his daughter in to meet. Her name was Mary Jane, and come on. I wanted to talk to her. She was in the brownies, and I could do this all night. She really was in the brownies, which I thought was funny, and so I bought some. It cost more here than in Texas because I wanted something to carry it in, so, I got a dime bag. And I just thought of that. Okay, back to the real. The real story's not even gonna be as good now. I was trying to make a point that we don't need technology on everything. I was in the green room, there was a box on the wall, I didn't know what it was. I pulled the chair up, stood up, and peered into it. Because I'd never seen an automatic room deodorizer before. How lazy are we that we can't do this a couple of times? I was like, what do you do, little fella? Boom! Right in my eyes. For the rest of the night, my eyes were totally bloodshot. I fit right in. So, my point is we can't let technology, because God made us for community. And I think if we keep our faces in everything, it's just, and it's on everything. I don't know. Can we leave the flushing mechanisms alone, please? Was there anything wrong with the old way? No. You used it, you stood up, you took your foot, and you flushed it. It was perfect. You got relief, you got a yoga workout. It was awesome. We don't need an electric laser eye beam where if you move half a centimeter to the right or the left, you get a hickey. And the second thing about bathrooms, or number two, if you're keeping track, I don't know how long the automatic motion sensing lights are supposed to stay on in a public restroom. I just know at my church, not long enough. You know what I'm talking about? You walk in and the lights sense you're there and they come on. And as long as you move around every once in a while, the lights stay on. You go into a stall, it's a game of beat the clock. Tell me I'm not the only one that ever sat in a dark stall, tossing a roll of toilet paper up. I'm not laughing at my own joke, I'm laughing because it happened today. It did. I talk about it on stage and the lights went out and I started laughing, but then I took a roll of toilet paper and tossed it up. The lights came on, it worked. And the best was in the stall next to me. I heard, "Thank you." And I'm not against all technology, but some of it's not even ready. I mean, anybody else think there ought to be a self-evaluation test before some people are allowed to use the self-checkout line in the grocery stores? Anybody been stuck behind that weirdo waving the soup can, looking for the invisible force? Like, I gotta walk up and be like, "These are not the nutrients you're looking for." Like, it's so frustrating. I think the greatest invention in the supermarket, we're not even using it right. You know the little dividers that lets the these food snobs, move my Yoo-hoo and Butterfinger away from their kale and vitamin water? You know what I'm talking about? That bugs me. The first time I ever saw that was I was in college and I was buying groceries, ramen noodles. I made that kind of money. And the lady took the divider and she just goes, like that. Like I was about to, I just wanted to throw the divider up and go, "Rah!" Right? And that's when I got the idea. We're not using those right. We should be able to use those to speed up the shopping process. Like if somebody has 31 items in a 20 item or less, we ought to be able to whap them one time in the face. Not hurt them, just a little Christian whap. Just like 18, 19, 20. Jesus loves you. Whap! Right? If you wait until after your groceries are rung up to look for your checkbook, that should be a 2-whapper, okay? Just be like, "Hope you find it. Whap, whap," right? If you're gonna talk to the cashier, finish your story. Time it where it finishes whenever it's time to pay. Don't pay and then stand there and continue holding everybody else up. That's a 3-whapper. Right? It's the express lane, not the express yourself lane, okay? I don't even care if you laughed at that. Like a week later, you're gonna be standing at the grocery store going, "Oh, that Bob Smiley's a genius. I really wanna whap that dude." Right? I'm just saying, and I know, talking, anti-technology makes me sound old. I don't even care anymore because I am old. I'm just gonna admit it. I found out the exact moment that I turned old. I thought it would be gradual, I thought my knee would start hurting, and then one day I'd be walking through the living room and be like, "Oh, Murder, She Wrote, that looks good," right? No. I know the exact moment I turned old. I was in the bathroom, my oldest son Google was there with me, and he was leaning in the mirror, he was popping a pimple. I was leaning in the mirror, he goes, "Oh, you got a zit?" I was pulling a hair out of my ear. A hair that was not there the day before, but now was long enough for me to grab. Evidently, when every guy on his 40th birthday, it just happens on me, just "Happy birthday to you." And it only gets worse. Have you seen, we took some blankets over Christmas to a retirement center. Some of the elderly guys there, They looked like they were smuggling Ewoks in their ear hole. One guy was completely bald. He was doing a comb over. But I'm getting old. I'm using terms like back in my day. I started using it about a couple of years ago. My oldest, whenever he was 16, he got a permit, which in Texas, I don't know what it's like here, but in Texas, that means you can drive if you have an adult in the car, which was really hard to find. But one day I let him drive, and I let my mom sit in the front, and I was sitting in the back with Xander, and I rolled the window down. And the window rolled down and then stopped that much. See, you're nodding your head. I didn't know. I hadn't been in the back seat in years. I was like, what is that? And Xander, my youngest, was like, oh, that's a safety window. They put that in to keep kids from flying out of the window. The government did it. They care about us. And I was like, that's hilarious. That's funnier than the fresh air deal. But I was thinking that, first of all, did I miss the epidemic where kids were just flying out of windows? When was that a problem? You know what my dad used to do? He had me hang out the window and try to get the mail as we pulled in. We never had, and second of all, is that the government's solution? We can't have them flying out of the window. That ought to do it. Like, what? And I did. I used back in my day, and it is, and I'm not completely old because I am an active dad. If you guys follow me on any social media, you see my kids and I post these videos. We play video games a lot. We still play the Wii because it's still our favorite gaming system. It is. So it's kind of a special thing because my oldest son introduced me to it. And I'll never forget, he brought me to Radio Shack, which is the first place they sold it. And he's like, Dad, there's this new system. You're going to hold a remote. We're going to play baseball. And it's going to feel like you're hitting a baseball. And I was like, no way, come on. And we got there. He was so excited. And he put the remote in my hand. And the pitcher pitched the ball. And I just watched it. And all of a sudden, I was just like, boom! And I was like, oh, that is awesome, Coulter. Oh, Coulter! Home run. And well, my kids and I were playing video games one day this year, and I'm going to be honest, we used cheat codes. You put cheat codes in, you can win. It's so much easy. It is, you do. You put cheat codes in and you win. And one day my middle son looked at me and he goes, you know what? Cheat codes is like the Bible. The Bible is and always will be the best cheat codes to life. And man, that hit us because the Bible, especially this last year, has really gotten us through, And the Bible is, I'll tell you one of the biggest scriptures that helped us. God saved Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire, not from the fire. And so again, we were in the fire and God was right there with us. And the Bible, we clung to scriptures and it got us through a lot of hard times. And I just want to encourage you guys to, especially if you're going through a hard time, man, be in the Word, And the Bible's not boring. Even like flying in, I was reading about doubting Thomas. And I was like, that's so weird because he doubted one time. One time on a date, I laughed and a snot bubble came out. I don't want to be known as Snot Bubble Bob the rest of my life. And the Bible is not boring. It's kind of violent, right? There's some violent stuff in there. I remember my Xander, my youngest, was having nightmares, and so I thought, I'm going to read him a Bible story every night. So yeah, some of you are ahead of me. Where were you then? He was 4, and I decided, David and Goliath will be good. I didn't even think it through. I was just sitting there, and I was like, and David picked up the sword, and he cut, And he goes, he cut what, Daddy? And I was like, he cut the cheese. And my son's growing up in the woodlands, so he was like, is David not gluten-free? And I didn't even get to answer him because my oldest was there, and he was like, get to the part about Bathsheba on the roof. But that's the deal. The Bible is full of interesting, really cool stuff, I wish the Bible was longer. I know that some people think it's too long. I wish Joseph, Jesus' dad, would have written a chapter. Seriously, Jesus' dad, how cool would that be, Because Jesus as a kid, he had powers, did he use them? Dad ever be like, hey, I need you to water the plants? And he was like, oh, it is finished. You know? Or did his dad, his dad knew who he was. Did he ever use that? Did he ever be like, hey, son, will you put your finger in that water for me? There's my Baptist. No, it is. And the thing is, Jesus was sinless, but Joseph had to have gotten onto him as a kid. Did he ever have to just pull him up like, look, son, stop spitting in everyone's eyes, okay? When you go to school, you don't have to share your lunch with everyone, you know? Leave that chicken alone. That is our dinner. It needs to stay dead. Or he could have written a chapter on being humble, because I'm telling you, that had to be a struggle with him. His son was Jesus. I would have bragged all the time. I would have found other dads and be like, is that your kid playing in the dirt? He looks fun. Can't introduce you to mine. He's way over there walking on the lake. You know, right? I would have bragged. I would have put a bumper sticker on the back of my donkey. My son saved your honor student. And so, go ahead and play that. I just found out Taco Bell now serves breakfast. Yes, finally, for something for those of us who want to have diarrhea earlier in the day. When I die, I want to be cremated, and I'm trying to talk my kids into putting me in a jar that says, he earned it. My middle son's teacher won't email me back because I love math is one misspelled letter to I love meth. I was helping my youngest do homework, and he was like, I need a definition of a mixed blessing. And I was like, getting a kidney transplant from a bedwetter. I was so glad when No Shave November was finally over, because man, my legs were getting itchy. If you put a squirrel's head in the toilet and flushed it, would that be a squirrely swirly? I'm sorry, have I already told my deja vu joke? For Mother's Day, I wrote a beautiful poem for my mom and read it aloud, which I thought was cool, because she didn't hear it, because she was busy mowing the lawn. I wonder if Miss Piggy gets a lot of spam mail. I don't get hip hop at all. I put out a ton of milkshakes and nobody came to my yard. My favorite part about being a comedian is when I think of the perfect analogy, it's kind of like whenever you... My favorite holiday is Columbus Day. To celebrate, I cross the street and I take away my neighbor's land. I am to the point in my life where I feel pretty proud if my life is slightly more organized than the $5 DVD bin at Walmart. My kids and I found out the hard way this summer that you cannot take a fishing pole into SeaWorld. I want to open up a dermatology building just so I can put in the lobby the game Whack-A-Mole. The worst part about being famous is I never know if people want my autograph because they're fans or because I was speeding. All right, I'll do a couple more. My favorite thing lately was the ice bucket challenge. I know that made a lot of you mad, but yeah, it went to a great cause. Finally getting teenage boys to take a shower. I always thought I was my dad's favorite because he would always let me lick the cake beaters when he was done. And then I got to college and realized you can turn them off first. And finally, this will be my last one. And I apologize because you aren't going to like me after this. But I think it's hilarious that my 17-year-old doesn't know I still have a baby monitor hidden in his room.